Hey, how's it going? I'm making today's video all about something that I Googled many times early on in starting my business. I would see people doing this and I just thought, how? So today I'm making a video all about how I turn strangers into high ticket sales. So this is, all about how to start closing those higher ticket, 1,000, 2,000, $5,000 clients and sales when you're not used to asking for a ticket price that's high, and especially when you know that your audience is still growing or they're still new and you want these people to come from, paid traffic or organic leads. You want it to come from, you want them to be strangers. You want them to not be people that have already been in your audience for a really long time. Those people are a little bit easier to convert, but if you want to grow and scale pretty quickly, then you probably want to know, how do I take strangers and turn them into a high ticket sale? What's the strategy for this? And a lot of it has to come down to, can do you have the ovaries to do it or what? But there is a strategy behind it, and I'm going to share with you the strategy instead of just saying just go for it. Okay, so what I'm guessing is that where you're at right now in your business is that you've started to make some sales. So maybe you're starting to sell some smaller ticket items. Maybe you sold a couple one-on-one spots for maybe like $600 or $700 or something like that. You've started to make a couple sales, but you're starting to realize, like, hey, I'm doing a lot of work for these clients and I still have to pay for my website and I need to save this much for taxes. And you're starting to notice that actually running a business is quite expensive, and you need some higher ticket items in your sales funnel or in your business system that are going to help you offset how much time you're putting into your business for how much money you're actually getting out, right? Well, congratulations, because this is a massive first step, and this is the precursor to making a big mindset shift that kind of takes your business to the big leagues, if you ask me. So if you have your sights set on these high ticket clients, but you're at the point where you're starting to wonder, like, how do I get people to actually pay me at that price? And also, how do I do that without being on the phone or being on sales calls with people all of the time? And so let's break this down. There's basically two really big steps. And the first step is to know the power of persuasion. And I love this step. This is something that I became obsessed with when I first started making high ticket offers. And that's really all about the art of sales psychology. Like, what does it mean to have somebody want the products that you're offering instead of feeling like you're, going up to people and saying, you need this, like, you got to have it, buy it. I didn't want to constantly feel like I was trying to convince people to buy what I am selling. I wanted people to be naturally attracted to the things that I'm offering and say, hey, can I have that, right? That was my main goal. And it turns out that really it's all about understanding the power of persuasion. And everything in life is about persuasion. Really, honestly, everything is about persuasion. But I think somewhere along the lines, persuasion got kind of mixed up with the word like manipulation or something like that. And they're totally different. And so in the online business space, we really want to make sure that using the word persuasion is not a dirty word. This is, it all has to come down to money mindset. And the truth is that persuasion is really just the art of making the value of your product really clear to your dream client. And so I have kind of three little secrets that I use when trying to master the art of persuasion and the psychology of sales. So secret number one seems very simple, but secret number one is believe in what you're selling. That's it. If you don't believe in what you're selling, then there's just don't bother selling it. Like, it's not worth it. Don't bother selling it. So you have to believe in what you're doing, what you're selling. If you're worried about coming off as too salesy in what you're selling, so let's say you do believe in what you're doing, but you feel like, I don't really want to talk about it too much because I feel like I'm worried about being salesy, then I actually have a blog post all about that. If you go to alyssacoleman.ca/sales, that will check out that blog post, and there's a workbook that goes along with it that will help you just make sure that you have no limiting beliefs around sales that are stopping you from making higher ticket sales or making more sales in general. You really need to make sure you eliminate that and you get really good at mastering that art of selling. Okay, if you do believe if you do believe in what you're selling, then cool. You've mastered secret number 1 and we can move on to secret number 2. And secret number 2 is my personal favorite. And this is, you are not the salesperson, they are. And this is something that I think most people who have trouble closing on sales calls or have trouble closing in general are getting mixed up. So think about it like this. The very first thing that people think of when they think of like a creepy salesperson or a slimy, salesperson is they think of that used car salesman, the person at the dealership who's literally trying to sell, he's at a used car lot and he's trying to sell you a piece of junk car that you don't want. They're trying to convince you that you're going to fall in love with this thing, but like it's a piece of crap, right? This is like what most of us think of. And when you think of that, that's what gets people thinking like people are going to have their back up. They're going to be like, putting up this boundary of like, no, thank you. Or I think about, when you're at the mall and you're like just minding your own business, on the way to H&M, and the person at the kiosk in the middle of the mall is like, you want to smell this? Or like, let me straighten your hair? Like they always have the weirdest stuff and you're just like, no, I'm not coming for that. This is exactly obviously what we're trying to avoid, okay? Don't be the used car salesman. Don't be the creepy person at the kiosk. I'm sorry if you have ever worked at a kiosk. I'm sure that's like a very hard job to try and convince people to like come put on your hand cream or whatever the heck is going on there. This is what we are trying to avoid. And the best way to do that is to let the person that you are trying to sell to do 90% of the talking and therefore 90% of the selling. It seems really crazy, but you're actually not selling. When you're trying to close someone, you're not selling. You're actually just asking really powerful questions that get them to sell themselves. So you want to think of really specific questions that will answer a few key things. You want to ask them questions that will help them understand that you are actually, the expert in this industry. You want to ask them questions that will get you to understand their situation better, their problems better, them as a person better. You want to understand them. You want to ask them questions that will get you to see and get them to see very clearly what's standing in the way between where they are now and the desired outcome that they want. And you want them to see you as the expert at solving that problem, at removing that barrier between where they are now and where you're going. So you want to like have a few of these questions in your back pocket, and you do that. And when you do that, you actually allow your dream client to kind of talk themselves into wanting the thing. So by allowing them to do most of the talking and by you doing most of the note taking, they're actually selling themselves on your solution, and that's really the secret to moving on to secret number 3. That's the secret to to mastering the next secret. I'm getting confusing. So secret number 1 is you have to believe in what you are selling. And secret number 2 is that you are not the salesperson, they are. Secret number 3 is that people will buy it if they want it. It's as simple as that. And honestly, it's so simple, and sales really is so simple, but I think we overcomplicate it with this 5-step funnel and this 7-step system. And, you have to say this specific word, but it's really as simple as people buy things when they want them. And I want you to think about anything that you've purchased recently. Like, okay, let's say anything you've purchased in the last 12 months. It could be a plane ticket. It could be like organic blueberries. It could be that, bathrobe that you saw in an Instagram ad. And I want you to ask yourself, like, when did I pull out my credit card? When did I click the buy button, put in my details, and actually make the purchase? Was it the very first time you ever heard about it? Was it the first time that you actually saw the Instagram ad? Was it the first time that you considered buying it? No. It was right as soon as you decided that you wanted it and that you wanted it now. And I understand that I'm describing something that's like super, super simple, but that's the key. Sales is simple. We buy things when we want them, and we need to stop overcomplicating this process. And so what that means is that your only job is to help your dream client decide that they want it. right? And keeping this in mind is going to allow you to stop trying to convince anybody of anything. You don't need to convince anyone that they want something. And all you have to do is allow them to sell themselves on the idea that they do want it. Now you can get some bonus points here by adding in some sort of urgency. And what that actually does is it gets them to decide that they want it and that they want it now. And that's really like what we want. And so this really always gets me thinking about like Ariana Grande. She's like the poster girl for saying, I want it, I got it. And that's really the key to sales. Think about it. She said, I want it. And then what did she do? She dropped like thousands of dollars on this new hair or like whatever the hell else she buys, you know, rings for all of her friends, right? And so it's really that simple. So 3 secrets to mastering the art of persuasion. Secret number 1 is believe in what you're selling. If you don't, the rest of these steps are not going to be easy, right? Secret number 2 is you are not the salesperson, they are. That is a huge secret, and you want to allow them to do as much of the selling for you as possible. And then secret number 3 is just allow people to decide that they want it. People will buy things as soon as they want it. That's it. And just allow them to decide that. And if they don't want it, then that's cool too, right? Like obviously we're trying to make sales here, but we're not trying to convince anybody that doesn't want something that they do want it. Like that's obviously not, that's not my game, and I'm assuming it's not your game either. We don't want people to just like have something and be like, ah, damn, I didn't want this. You know, that's not what we're trying to do. Okay, so that's the first big step in making sure that you are ready. You've mastered the art of persuasion to actually persuade someone to purchase something at a higher ticket price. Because obviously it's easier for people to make smaller purchases, and you don't have to be particularly great at sales to sell something really small. Think about like Girl Scouts are literally selling Girl Guide cookies. You know, anybody can do that. But once you get to something a little bit higher ticket, it does require a little bit more sophistication. It requires you to have more of a better relationship with the person that you are trying to sell to, right? And that's where those 3 secrets come into play. But I also have another step that I really like to use that's a little bit more strategic, and that is to set up a tripwire funnel. And so this almost primes your people to become better buyers. So you probably already have a funnel in your business. You know that you need a freebie. This is a free thing in order to get their name and email. That makes selling to people in the long run a lot easier. And then what happens when they put in their name and email is you send them to a thank you page, right? It says, awesome, thanks, the freebie's on the way to your inbox, check your spam, yada, yada. That's great, but what is it even better and a highly recommended second step is rather than sending people to a thank you page, we want to send them to a tripwire page or a micro offer page, or it has a bunch of different names, but you've probably seen this before. You put in your name and email, and on the secondary page is a small offer that can take whatever they wanted from the freebie. It kind of like takes it to the next level. And you know, this actually allows people to kind of get the result that they wanted from the freebie even quicker, even better, even faster. And so that's what a tripwire is. And the reason that that works is because it does come back to psychology, and that's because you're getting your first big yes from people. And what we know is that it's really quite difficult to get the first sale from someone. There's a bigger barrier to entry on your very first sale, but then people are so much more likely to make their second and third sale. I think the number is that people are 70% more likely to repurchase from you if they've already bought something small in the past. And so it's easier to say yes to like those Girl Scout cookies, those small little, you know, that small little first item, and is assuming that it's good and they enjoyed that first thing, they're 70% more likely to take you up on that higher offer. So what that does is when you get on the phone with someone, let's say you're about to have a sales call and you want to close them on a $1,000 offer, but they don't really know you that well, they already have this yes that they've already given you, and they already have a little bit of a trust factor with you because they've purchased something from you before. They've gotten a return before. They, you know, there was no scam or nothing weird about the small product that you offered them. And ideally, it provided major value to them, and it positioned you even more as the expert. So then when you're on this sales call having a conversation about something that's $1,000, they're, you know, they already have kind of dipped their toe in to the pool, and they know like all right, I've purchased something from her before and it's been really great. So I'm assuming something at this higher ticket price is going to be even better and I can trust her a little bit more. And so not only does this increase your likelihood of getting yeses on sales calls, but it also allows you to grow your community at a cheaper price. So if you're starting to run paid traffic to your freebies, if a certain percentage, like even if 1% of people take you up on that tripwire offer on the secondary page, it helps with that budget. So you can start growing even more and more and more. You can bring in even more cold leads, warm them up with your tripwire offer, warm them up with all the other ways that you do in your business. And then when they get on the phone, they're that much more likely to say yes. More leads is more opportunities, and more opportunities for you to test out step number one, which is the power of persuasion, your sales psychology that you've been working on. So these are my 2 steps to going from making some sales but at quite a low level to making that leap to starting to make high ticket sales to people who are cold leads. So this is not friends and family. This is not people who've been following you for ages. These are new people that you want to bring into your business, and you want to be able to create that process of bringing new people in, warm them up, and then make higher ticket sales. If you do and you're a little bit worried to do that, I definitely recommend this 2-step process to start doing it, but more importantly, to start doing it in a way that's actually quite scalable. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you are hoping to start moving to higher ticket sales, then leave me a little comment, because I would love to know what price point you are at now and what price point you would love to start closing at, just so I can, find out more about you and we can root you on while you start to implement the power of persuasion.